We are finally going to drag this movie. Okay, I don't want to start this episode off on a bad foot. If you've been here, then you know I pretty much like every movie that I watch, and honestly, if I don't like it, I can still see that there's something there, a glimmer of a good thing, and in very rare cases, I just flat out dislike a movie. The case with this one is something we're gonna get into because this movie. Hi friends, welcome back, or just welcome if you're new here. I'm here as a friend to give you my spoiler-free thoughts on the latest movie I've watched in theaters or something that I've watched while cozied up at home. If you're looking for my thoughts on a specific movie, DM me on Instagram, let me know in the comment section on YouTube, or let me know on the podcast. Tune in for new episodes every Friday, and don't forget to follow the podcast, subscribe on YouTube, all the things so you don't miss out on what I'm watching and what we're going to be talking about. If you've been hanging out with me for the past few episodes, then you know that I had never seen the original film, The Exorcist. I know, shame on me. But we're good now because I watched it and I am suddenly a massive fan. As a sudden super fan, we're going to touch on the original. I'm not going to get into it, but I am going to bring it up in the episode. Before we can talk about why the original 1973 film is superior, we have to talk about The Exorcist Believer. When his daughter Angela and her friend Catherine show signs of demonic possession, it unleashes a chain of events that force single father Victor Fielding to confront the nadir of evil. Terrified and desperate, he seeks out Chris McNeil, the only person alive who's witnessed anything like it before. This movie did a really fantastic job in the first half, so let's talk about it. I really love the relationship between Victor and his daughter Angela. Their bond, as well as its good and bad, is really emphasized throughout the story. Additionally, the opening of the movie really informs their bond throughout the film. From here, we have to talk about the mystery that this movie arose when the girls went missing. I love the tension between the parents of the missing girls because we really got to see the conflict of belief as well as the raw grief of a parent of a missing child. Not only this, but we got a really good look at Victor's conflict at having to face what could be his new reality, as well as his relationship with religion and his past. These elements coming together was really interesting and something that I enjoyed seeing play out. Keeping on topic of what I liked about the movie besides the first half, and that's not really fair because this movie had those glimmers of something I really liked. I really liked the practical effects. I really liked the cinematography. Some shots had really informative or just interesting angles and lighting. I really liked the music as well. Moving on to the acting, we've got to talk about Leslie Odom Jr. as Victor Fielding. I touched on this a little bit, but that relationship with Lydia Jewett's Angela is everything. I love the little details, the dialogue, and their chemistry. Not only did he nail this part of the role, but again, that conflict with religion. And this really plays a big role toward the second half of the film. Speaking of Lydia Jewett, she and Olivia O'Neill as Angela and Catherine respectively did such a fantastic job. Nothing groundbreaking here, but I really liked the innocence and carefree nature of their relationship. They're just two kids that are best friends. Then to see the shift of the possession was so interesting. Their acting here was engaging and scary. We'll talk about the scaries more later in the episode. Both girls played both sides of their characters so well, and the switch is eye-catching and shocking. Alright, so what did I think about the movie? Is it worth watching? Let's just put it all out there. If you're a super fan of the original like myself, then you might be disappointed. I feel like this was one of those movies that they did not need to make if this was going to be how they made it. I think this movie would have done better with a rework and a retitle. Change the story, change the title completely, don't have it attached to such an iconic name, and I think this would have made it a better movie. This movie is a direct sequel to the original, and evidently this is the first installment of a trilogy. I think, well, okay, I don't mind a sequel to a classic so many years later. So I am all for that, but if this is the start, they have a lot of work to do. Side note, I was doing some scholarly Googling and I found out that the next movie is titled The Exorcist Deceiver. First of all, I love the title, but I wonder if this is going to be one of those franchises where the following installments will elevate the overall story. Like, will the second one make the first one better? And will the third one make for a strong trilogy? I wonder. Let's get back to the episode. I don't hate this movie, but it wasn't as good as I was expecting it to be. One of the things that I loved about the original is the relationship between parent and child, which is something that this movie actually did a pretty good job of between Victor and Angela specifically. Ooh, before I get too far, I said I would talk about the scaries, so let's get into it. If you've been here for a while, then you might remember when I said that possession movies that are heavy with religion and churches freak me out. When I saw the trailer for this movie, I was really worried. I'm not gonna lie. And then when I saw the original, I was pretty much put at ease because the original wasn't as really heavy with those themes in a scary way. And this movie definitely was heavy with these elements, but not in a scary way. I almost have to laugh at myself for being so worried. That said, this movie is littered with jump scares, so in that way, yeah, it is scary. When I was talking about their acting, yeah, it's scary, but it's that tonal shift and the range coupled with the makeup, and to be honest, there were very few moments that were genuinely scary to me, and this includes the quiet jump scare, the suspense, and the dread that you feel at some points in this movie. So if you're worried that this movie will be scary, I don't really think so, but the jump scares were really loud, and I'm not gonna lie, I jumped. But let's just say I didn't have to cover my eyes for this one, and if you've watched the episode from last year on Smile, then you know I am 100% that person that covers their eyes during a scary movie. And that's okay. Have you seen The Exorcist Believer yet? If you saw the movie, what did you think about it? I think this movie had a ton of wasted opportunity. It wasn't a bad possession movie. It really did a lot of good things and had some shocking moment that had me surprised, but it wasn't enough to bring the overall impact to meet my expectations, which honestly was just to be scared and get a familiar shock and suspense that I got from the original. This movie is scary if you're not a seasoned spooky scary horror fan, but if you, like myself, have seen some shenanigans, then this will be really underwhelming, and don't get me started on bringing back the original cast. Very cool as a longtime fan that I am, but definitely added to that disappointment. In short, this movie is full of jump scares, light on real scares, but heavy with highlighting religion in a way that felt inorganic. It felt like they were pushing it a little too much. All right, movie fans, that brings us to the end of the episode. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you very much. Check out the description below for a link to the podcast. If you're watching here on YouTube, leave the video a thumbs up if you liked the video so that I know you liked the video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and for catching today's episode. You can listen to new episodes every Friday, and make sure you subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify, all the things, so you don't miss out on the next movie we're going to be talking about. The next movie I have tickets for is Five Nights at Freddy's, and after seeing the second trailer for that one, I am really looking forward to it. After that, I've got tickets for The Marvels, which I hope we've all been keeping up with everything literally everywhere. I wonder how much of a recap we'll get, if any, because with WandaVision and Ms. Marvel, it's a lot. Additionally, I'm just excited to see these ladies all on screen together, especially after what we've seen from Kamala and Monica. You know me, I love the character dynamics and the relationships, and there's a lot between Monica and Carol, and then to add Kamala into the mix looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I could go on and on, but we'll fly higher, further, faster next month. Getting into podcast exclusives, we are finally talking about No One Will Save You, and let's be real. If you want to watch something scary, check that movie out. That episode also dropped today, so I hope you'll join me on YouTube and the podcast, especially for that exclusive episode. I would love to hear from you guys, so please let me know your thoughts on today's episode or just your thoughts on the movie that we talked about today in the comment section on YouTube or on Spotify. I want to know what you think, so let me know wherever you are listening or on Instagram at A.Rocket.Review, and I'll talk to you guys next week. But until the next episode, spread positivity, be safe, take care of yourself, take better care of yourself than these kids who went into the woods to contact spirits. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye!